Hi, everybody. Welcome back to VCTV. So, I'm the host and the moderator of today's episode. My name is Sunny Mohanty, and today we're going to discuss about decentralized finance, banking, financial institutions. So, I think this is a very wide topic because we are covering many topics inside this investments in blockchain, DeFi, banking, and financial services. So rather than an interview, like I interviewing the speakers of the panel, let's just have a discussion. So I would like to start with introducing the speakers of the panel today. Hi, welcome, Vandana and Dr. Shrikant. How are you today?
Hi, I'm good. I'm rocking as usual.
Oh,
How are
wow.
you?
I'm great. I'm great. Things are getting better. So, yeah. How are you, Dr. Shrikant?
Well, I can't complain, but I wouldn't say exactly rocking per se because I don't seem to be rocking in my chair at least. The early 2009s when we used to hit the pubs and we used to have. I'm sorry for the noise at this part. Um, when we used to have the.
Hello.
Hi, Gary.
How
Hi,
are you
Gary.
today?
How are you?
I'm good.
We are rocking.
Good to see everybody today.
Hi.
Yes, Dr. Shrikant, please continue.
So I was saying, it is not a usual the rocks that we used to do in the 2009. But anyway, I'm Dr. Shrikant Vatsati. I'm not a medical professional. That is one of the things that I should have mentioned in what 100 shows that have appeared, at 150 at least, at the very least, right? I'm
Right.
not a
Yeah.
medical professional. I am a legal counsel, and I act as a counsel for the Forbes 500. And I'm here to talk. I mean, it's a fun topic to talk about investments in blockchain, especially, and in financial services. It's quite important because financial services is again a regulated thing, and legal counsels we live by this, right? I mean, we know how the regulatory framework works. So I'm a mix of an economist and a legal counsel. More than happy to share this platform with Vandana again and Gary once again. I wasn't expecting Gary in the show, but what a pleasant surprise it is. Over to you, Gary.
Yeah. So my name's Gary Fowler. I'm a serial entrepreneur and investor. I've done 17 companies. I've had several exits. I was on the original management team at Click Software, sold to Salesforce for 1.35 billion, and also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company that I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. I love artificial intelligence, quantum computing, cybersecurity. Just adore it. I also am on the radio in New York and iHeartRadio and several other venues because we got to spread the word out that intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. I'm also the CEO, co-founder, and president of GST Get Shit Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in Silicon Valley that is working with companies today in 24 countries using Silicon Valley as a port to the rest of the world. So great to be here with some friends and some smiling faces. And it's a little early here. It's 7 o'clock in the morning, but it's great.
Perfect. Thank you, Gary. And always pleasure to have you on VCTV. Okay, great. Vandana, let's have your introduction.
Yeah, so first of all, I would like to thank all of you for having me here. It's great to meet the esteemed panelist and yourself, Sunny. I think the topic today, I think you have much more knowledge than me in this because you are in and out of this industry. You're always in it, and you understand these markets well, more than I think myself. So coming to introduce myself, I had my own family office in Singapore and Jakarta. I worked as an investment banker and advisor to family offices and angel investors in Jakarta, Indonesia. Helping startups from a diverse background, from fintech and B2B tech all the way to consumer startups. I was raising funds for them and providing them with a wide range of services, just as Convanto does today. After 15 years of staying in, Singapore and Jakarta, I came back to India. I did investments for a bit, then returned to advisory. That is when Convanto was founded. Today, Convanto is one of the most well-known boutique investment banks in India, led by a female founder. I'm also a venture advisor with Loyal VC, the INSEAD-led Canadian VC fund, having a core portfolio of 160 investments in more than 35 countries. I'm also a partner with GST Venture Studios, a Silicon Valley-based venture builder. And over the years, I've arranged funding for startups and growth stage companies in diverse sectors like edtech, fintech, consumer, B2C and B2B, agri-tech, health tech, food tech, disruptive and deep tech, as well as non-tech sectors. I would recommend all of you to have a look at my website for the wonderful testimonials written by my clients. And
Yeah.
this month, I've been selected as one of the top 10 women leaders in wealth management 2021. My expert opinion is sought by leading business news channels and publications like VCTV, Business World, and I've participated in, I think, 170 plus talks all over the world, which can be viewed on YouTube as well as VCTV streaming sites. I'm connected with 300 plus investors globally, and I pick up global deals. We are sector agnostic, and typically we do $1 million to $25 million. And once again, thank you for having me here.
Thank you, Vandana. I mean, a lot of things happened, I think, and you're doing a great, fabulous job over the year, especially the lockdown since 2020 beginning. Today, we're going to touch upon various aspects, not only decentralized finance or blockchain, but I would also want to know what's happening in the digital banking space, especially. I understand that a lot of neo banking as a service, a lot of fintech players, in the space, and a lot of investments have also gone into digital banking space. So we're going to be covering those as well. But as you rightly said, decentralized finance is a space which is very closely aligned to distributed ledger technology, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain. And obviously, you're very right. I'm very much active in that space. Banking without banks. I just want to ask this question. What do you think about that? Banking without banks, decentralized finance is coming. I mean, obviously, it's not coming, but it's here, but it hasn't replaced banks. But do you think could we have a financial industry without banks or brokers? So let's just start with who do I start with? Dr. Srikant. Yes.
So save you some trouble. So I've been a quite a pessimistic person insofar as crypto is concerned. But see, a bank exists as a bank because it's regulated, right? And a regulated bank is much more efficient to an economy. And I'm going to don the hat of an economist. And Fabio will if he's watching the show, Fabio, I'm sure you would agree that a, a big part of regulating banks is the national interest, because you are basically having a pyramid like hierarchy where you have the I would say the incentives basically rolling down like a marble, right? So you cut the rates, and you have banks which are basically doing your job, which is basically regulating the finance of the entire country, right? That is exactly. I mean, if a country were to run a bank, and if a country were to establish only one bank, then we would have an issue with competition. We wouldn't have. I mean, the country would not be competent enough to have all the all the kiosks and all the things that are possible through a banking system, especially. And two is also because of the fact that you can having these chaps who are these banks, also allows you to monitor the banking system as a whole, and you're creating an industry as such. That's how the whole banking system was created. I mean, we have progressed far from guys sitting at a table from where the origin of a bank as a term originated, right? It originated from a Latin slash Italian term banco, which means a plank, right? A plank with a table, right? And currency exchanges. So imagine a situation: if the banks don't exist, then regulatory mechanisms won't exist. Then the government will not get to know as to how much you are spending on blah blah blah. And that is an important thing or important feed that goes to the government for various reasons. You may call it the Pegasus reasons. You may call it reasons for knowing how much income that you've made, and so on and so forth. But whether the banking system itself will collapse, yes, it has happened in the past. In 2008, we witnessed that, and I was a witness to that particular crisis. And we did have the Great Depression as well in the US, right? So we could technically exist without the banks, but we will have a quasi banking institution, as in institution which looks like a bank. I mean, I know Gary uses this term a lot. It looks like a duck, quacks like a duck, it is a duck. So we will have institutions which look like a duck or slash a bank, but may not quack exactly like a duck, which is using the same analogy, like a bank. So I think that is already happening in India. That is already happening globally. I think that was the reason why we got the Mastercard and the Visa routed out of this particular industry as such, because we had so much going on in the merchant banking industry that we had to. I mean, they couldn't keep up to the pace, right? So I think from that particular point of view, if you ask me a question whether banks will exist, yes, bank as a sacrosanct institution will exist, but banks in the traditional sense may not exist.
Right. I mean, great points. That brings me to ask about the sort of the next question, which is about digital banking. But before that, I'd like to ask Vandana. Vandana, what's your take about decentralized finance? I mean, decentralized finance obviously is something making a lot of noise from 2020 through to 2021, and I see use cases. I mean, obviously very legitimate use cases, but we just want to know what's the whole purpose of decentralized finances. Are they going to they're not going to replace banks. The banks are going to be there. Most probably banks are going to adopt the technology of decentralized finance. Who knows? So what's your
Yes.
take on that?
So, decentralized finance had a resurgence last summer. Cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ether are now becoming more widely accepted for payments. At the same time, the blockchain technology that underlies cryptocurrency and its supporting financial infrastructure are on their way to offering a system of financial rails in parallel to and connected with traditional financial infrastructure. Now, since its inception, DeFi, literally decentralized finance or blockchain based forms of finance that do not rely on centralized intermediaries such as bank, has been adopted to some extent by smaller businesses in developing markets whose needs are unmet by the traditional banking system. For example, some businesses use payment companies like BitPesa in Africa, Tranglo in ASEAN, and other major DeFi exchanges to either make direct payments or convert payment amounts to USD backed stable coin for cross border remittance.
Yeah.
But the question that stands before us today is, when exactly will DeFi be adopted by traditional banking institutions? Now,
Yes.
the greater transaction banking industry now sees DeFi as potentially significant growth engine and disruptive force. Transaction banking addresses the operational needs and day-to-day transactions of businesses and financial institutions. Usually, only companies who are top customers of banks are able to have ready access to these services, which focus on managing the liquidity of a company, cash flows, trade and supply chain finance, and other instruments needed to facilitate domestic and international corporate transactions. Now, DeFi allows the exchange of trustable data across a system, mitigating these barriers to business financial services. Until now, however, most companies did not seriously consider DeFi as a viable alternative to the bank services because of the volatility of crypto assets, regulatory uncertainty, and immature technology involved. Even Tesla's purchase of $1.5 billion in Bitcoin was motivated by direct financial value of Bitcoin as an asset and not by its transaction banking needs. So I feel this is what it still needs a bit more time.
Yes, totally agree with Vandana's. I mean, Vandana obviously touched upon very valid points. Tesla's example as well was great. So yeah, thank you so much. I think next we have Gary. So Gary, so we're talking about decentralized finance. So do you think decentralized finance are here to replace the way banks work right now? Are they going to completely replace the banks, or they going to be adopted by banks? What's your thoughts?
There's going to be a hybrid world for now because we need to have that one-to-one feeling, and the bankers need to get to know you. They need to, especially if you're doing a very complex transactions. And I hear that a lot. I deal with some of the top banks on the planet. So, I mean, you can do it. And as we've been forced over the last 2 years to be able to totally change our lives and go through this digital transformation. We've been forced to move forward with things like decentralized finance and to be
Yeah.
able to do things online. Where before that, if you said to somebody, "I want to do a loan," for instance, and they would tell you to come into their office for the most part, but now it's changed. But I believe that it's going to be
Yeah.
hybrid because you need that one to one. You need that customer facing experience. You need to get to know that customer. And for now, it's going to be done. It's going to be in hybrid. It will change over time. And as it changes with these emerging technologies using avatars, using very, very sophisticated chatbots. In fact, my next article in Forbes magazine is about replicating humans, right? It's actually started. So we need to adopt these technologies. We need to look at the security value of decentralized finance. We need to understand smart contracts. We need to understand some of the risks too. By the way, there are risks because as quantum computers are coming online, they're able to do so many um, to run so much encryption to be able to understand how to be able to crack. In fact, it's estimated that by between 2022 and 2027, the quantum computers that are out there, by the way, a quantum computer is 100 million times faster than the fastest supercomputer. That means something that would take 10,000 years on a supercomputer takes 200 seconds on a quantum, that kind of speed. So this world that we're coming in is beautiful, Sunny. It's exciting. It is
Yeah.
democratizing the opportunity around the world. We do a lot of work in Nigeria. We do a lot of work in Latin America, and with payment companies too. There's a thrust. It's coming from a lot of the developed world because they needed these systems and they didn't have the legacy systems to replace. It's hard to destruct a banking system. It's not so easy because there's multi-generational wealth, there's political power, there's all kinds of things that go with it. Corporate power, countries' power are based in a lot in the strength of the bank. So it's going to take some time, but it will evolve. It will be a lot different. People are buying off, as Vandana said, into the cryptocurrencies. At the same time, there are thousands of cryptocurrencies. How do you know
Yeah.
which one is real and which one isn't? Really? I
Yeah.
mean, you got Bitcoin and Ethereum, and a lot of people have based their in buying the Bitcoin and Ethereum on what the value, investment value of the coins. And I've done it myself, right? You buy in and the situation. I do use them. We do some trading with Bitcoins, but in terms of payments, but for the most part, I look at it as a great way to make some money. It's an opportunity. So we got to rejig it. The concern I have is that there's hype. You get celebrities out there hyping things up, and there's not. And then it's funny. They hype, and all of a sudden the price of the coin drops like a stone. So we got to be really careful of the Dutch tulip phenomenon, that we're not getting into that. But digital currencies, we're gonna get through. We're gonna filter through all the not good stuff that's out there. We will come up with some cryptocurrencies that are interesting. Governments will their central banks will start to look at them like they are in India, at cryptocurrencies. Blockchain has been really helps redefine not only banking but healthcare systems because of confidentiality, et cetera. So it's here. It's just now we got it. Now how do we use it?
Yeah, I think very good points as well, Gary. I think decentralized finance is emerging as a tool for small businesses in developing markets and developing countries. I would say, as Vandana said, particularly for payments and remittances and small loans. Because if you know, Coinbase, which is one of the largest cryptocurrency exchange, have released USDC. USDC is basically a cryptocurrency, a stable currency, based loans that guarantee at least 4% yield return, which is far higher than traditional products of similar risk, and smaller platforms that offer cross border access to capital with rates that are far more variable. In
Sonny, the challenge is, and I know Coinbase because I use them. Their costs are crazy. You know what I mean?
what
When
kind
you
of
when you're going down through and doing, if you're buying and selling cryptocurrency, right? It's really expensive because if you look the difference between what the currency is trading at and what you get, then you look at what the cost of the trade is. It's not cheap. It's really not cheap. So, I mean, and that's going to change too as more players come into the market. The problem is security. People want something secure because they don't want to get a chance of getting their wallets um, hacked. And
Mhm.
so we've been looking at, so having something that's cool like La Token, having something like Coinbase, having companies out there that you can trust is really important, and that's going to happen more and more as we start to go down through it. More and more companies are going to come out. There's going to be certification that says, "Hey, listen, these are certified." There'll be government approval agencies. It's going to happen. It's just it takes time, and when you have an emerging market.
Yeah, I think obviously the cost factor, I agree. I mean, because obviously there are less players, and I think Coinbase, I haven't traded, I haven't bought traded on Coinbase, but there are other exchanges where I think, Gary, you should explore other exchanges, and you can explore La Token as well. I mean, the prices are not that expensive. I mean, it's for everybody. But honestly, Coinbase, Kraken are those ones which I haven't explored because they're US based, and do not, probably, I don't know. I don't have an account. I do have an account on Binance though, but trading fees and buying cryptocurrencies are also reasonable. I don't know much about Coinbase, but what I'm trying to say is that, today there was a news: Coinbase is entering Japan, by tying up with MU, one of the banks, largest banks in Japan. So, what the point is, the greater transaction banking industry, I think, now sees DeFi, decentralized finance, as a potentially significant growth engine and disruptive force. I think banks, that's a shaking. They're just sort of marrying or collaborating with crypto exchanges right now. So, talking about this, if this is what the future is, so, what do you think about the institutional investors? Are they also keen on looking at this space because of the sheer potential that it has, it holds for future? So, what do you see when it comes to what I have seen, that Morgan Stanley, they, on a report, the Morgan Stanley's wealth clients are looking to invest into crypto. So do you think this is the driver for institutional investors?
I mean, I can tell you from my perspective, I went to my private bank and I was, when I did the Coinbase thing, I asked them directly, and this is a pretty big bank called Truist. I said, guys, this is pretty simple. Why don't you do, like, you tell me how innovative you are and you don't have any way to trade cryptocurrencies or to buy cryptocurrencies? Is what's wrong with this picture? Well, we're not there yet. We may be able to point you in the right direction. I said, this is crazy, you know.
Uh,
So I had them transferring the money to Coinbase for me, and then it makes no sense. They have to get into it because, I have the privilege of living in Palm Beach, and so I hear a lot of things because I talk to some. I'm the poorest guy on the block. There's some really rich people here, and I was talking to him. He says, "I'm so upset. I'm so upset. I could have made so much money. I was going to put $10 million in this, and I couldn't figure out how to do it. I'm so upset." And this is when Bitcoin had gone from like 10,000 to 25,000.
yeah.
This guy was complaining. But I mean, this, ultra high worth folks, of course they want to do it. The problem is they don't know much about it, right? The only thing, the thing is, you got to look at the coin and how many developers are behind it, right? Who's really behind it? Is it some kind of pump and dump, or is it something real? That's the challenge. It's like, it's not investing. And the problem is you start to have people invest. And I say invest, not trade, right? Because they're not using it for anything other than, I mean, think about it. How many people are really using Bitcoin and Ethereum? Like, really? Not many, right? We do with our business, but not many do it. And the situation is they're using it as an investment vehicle. They're not using it to trade with it. So there's a lot of more to the hype, when you're investing in it. So I think that over time, businesses will start to utilize it as governments start to agree that it's the right thing to do.
Mhm.
Business will utilize it. Governments will start to accept it more and more, which is important. In fact, next door to me at the gas station, they now have a Bitcoin ATM, which is a big deal. I've
Yeah.
never seen anybody at it, by the way, never. So I don't know if it's being used. In fact, next time I go into the gas station, I'm gonna ask my friend Jorge and ask him how many times he's seen people use it, because I'm curious. But just by the fact that they're out there is really important. So there's
Yeah.
something going on because they're not cheap to have a Bitcoin ATM. So people are starting, what will happen, Sonny, is they're going to start to do things like that to be able to set the stage and lay the foundation. So what will happen in 3 years? They'll already own the real estate where the, Bitcoin ATM is. So once people start to utilize it more actively.
Yeah. Okay. So Vandana, what do you think about? I mean, obviously, this. Just keep it open because we cannot just focus on one particular topic. To just keep it open. I think Dr. Shrikant had to drop off. I just saw the note now. Okay, cool, no worries. So what can you add to this? Because I see today's news only, like one of Coinbase partnered with one of the biggest banks in Japan to enter into Asia. So what are your thoughts? Why would a bank collaborate with an exchange, a crypto exchange? There must be a strategic move, sort of motto or a goal behind that, right?
Yeah, so it's like, when demonetization came in India, people were pushed to use digital payments. When pandemic happened, people were pushed to use these platforms, Zoom, AirMeet, StreamYard, and everybody became proactive. Then everybody went digital. I think, and then Zomato IPO, you're very well aware of that.
Yeah,
So I think that, one person has to start somewhere. So I think when one person starts, people start. Sometimes we humans do have a herd mentality, wherein we see that, okay, one person has started, then everybody starts following. So I think that must have gone in. But adding on to some points which Gary mentioned and yourself as well, DeFi platforms actually provide an alternative system, not simply a plug-in to existing banks. Their decentralized nature means transaction onboarding and market-based risk assessments, that are much easier to scale across businesses. Wider system because access to relevant information is not dependent on centralized processing or prior relationship. And prior to DeFi, a business would have complete anti-money laundering and know your customer checks for every source of capital and convince their counterparts to onboard the same transaction banking program. They would also not be able to present evidence or performance on their debt or payables outside the financial statement. While DeFi previously solved the complex requirements around portable digital ID for businesses and had a roadmap for providing access to financial performance track records in transaction banking, it completely lacks two crucial elements: a one-to-one exchange with a fiat currency, and in interoperability between different blockchains, so that counterparties could freely interact with one another. And the former is necessary for cryptocurrency to offer a stable store of value that can be used as a currency, and to have easily accessible interface with traditional financial system. So, just like Gary mentioned that there is an ATM. Now, when everybody starts using it, eventually, people would want more of this kind of thing to happen, and I think they would get into this. Even I am thinking to do investments in this space, but the wallet thing keeps confusing me. So, uh,
What confuses you? Sorry.
you have to might have to remember many passwords and all that, and
No,
the wallet things, and also I'm still learning how to do this.
no worries, Vandana. This is easy. I mean, you don't have to remember any passwords actually. So those are not just password. Those are different numbers. Not numbers. Sorry. Those are how to put it. There are like 10 different unique words, which
Acha,
makes up. Yeah. So there's a
okay,
password, and that's that. So the wallets, you once you get logged out, you obviously use a username and password to log into your wallet. But however, if you sort of have to reset your password, then you have to remember those 10 words, unique words, which is very
okay,
unique to your identity. So that's for our safety. You have to remember that that's for our safety, right? I mean, uh, as much as you like to think that, okay, what if I forget? If you forget, you lose
yeah,
it. But you have to keep it safe. Simple as that. That's
yeah,
just because of our safety. So what I've seen, like hedge fund managers, I would say
hmm, hmm,
60% of hedge fund managers, the principal reason, the main reason they are moving into this digital asset is to bring a general diversification to their portfolio. Um, some of them have cited that exposure to a new value creation ecosystem as the chief reason for getting involved, and it made a good hedge against inflation. As we all know, the large amount of liquidity in the market paired with negative real interest rate means that many investors, it pays not to hang into cash in an environment where there is no interest rate but potentially
Mhm.
significant inflation rates. So that was the reason. So Gary, Gary, coming over to you. So basically, okay, obviously when it comes to technology, you invest into AI, you invest into cybersecurity. What are your thoughts about investing into DeFi platform? Have you explored any startup in the space that have approached your accelerator or approached you as a person to sort of partner with GST Ventures?
Yeah, sure. I mean, we love the blockchain. We love payment companies. We're dealing with, I've been very supportive, Sonny, of startups in Africa, startups in India. We've worked with seven, I think, 7 or 8 now startups, primarily fintech startups from Africa, from Ghana, Zambia, Kenya, Nigeria, South Africa. So, I mean, we're also Latin America. So we've got fintech companies there. Most of them are somehow connected to blockchain because they're doing
Yeah.
payments.
Yeah.
So we're wholly supportive of it. It's not, I see this as a burgeoning opportunity.
Yeah.
Blockchain used to be just for cryptocurrency, but it's not. It's for health tech. It's for all kinds of
Yeah.
different applications. So and that's the beauty of it, because it's moved out because of, look at what's happening with security. Every day you hear about ransomware attacks, you hear about challenges, you hear
Yeah.
about personal data being compromised in healthcare institutions. So we need these technologies. I mean, we're fully supportive, because the world has changed, and the companies and individuals that don't adapt with it. Every time I remember I've been around tech for a long time with Sun Microsystems, helping them. And I mean, just a long time. E-commerce. I had the first e-commerce consulting company in the world, actually, out of Silicon Valley. So there's a lot of opportunity here, but you just got to sift through it to make sure you don't get into the wrong situation. By that, I mean, every time there's a market. I know when we did our IPO in NASDAQ many years ago with Click Software, there was a lot of hype right before that with the dot-com bubble, right? I mean, they had a sock puppet in a pets.com, literally a sock puppet. And this company raised an atrocious amount of money at the time, pets.com. But then you had delivery systems, Webvan. They just happened to be before their time. They were hyped up. They were just before their time. Now
Yeah.
look. So, we're actively looking for those kind of companies. We love those companies, and we believe, as I said, intellectual capacity is evenly spread around the world, but opportunities aren't. The key is, if I am a company in Nigeria, how do I get to the rest of the world? If I'm a company in Singapore or India or wherever I am, how do I get to the rest of the world? That is an art and also a science.
Moreover, Gary, I would like to add with DeFi, decentralized finance, the with interoperability, it's one of the focal point of decentralized finance, which makes it appealing, very much appealing to institutional investors, because they no longer have to worry about cherry picking ecosystem. Instead they can concentrate on generating greatest yield because of this interoperability provided by decentralized finance platforms. Okay, what are the hurdles? But still, there are some hurdles on the way. Regulatory hurdles, acceptance hurdles, infrastructure hurdles. So, what kind of hurdles do we see, Vandana? Over to you, please.
So, I mean, you know, um, all hurdles, I mean, like failure is the stepping stone to greatness, Sunny. So I think all the hurdles we are going to overcome it by time. It's just need the proactiveness and the accuracy, and having those regulations. I believe that regulators will intensify their search for stricter and tighter regulation. And long time being absent, governments around the world are sure to implement a myriad of fintech regulations over the next few years. And the growing digitalization of the economy triggered by COVID pandemic is an issue that is now narrowly being monitored by regulators worldwide. Now, digital banking, cryptocurrency, and blockchain will be likely the greatest topics of concern, as an increasing number of finance transactions occur outside of traditional institutions and mechanisms. Issues like DeFi cannot be ignored anymore by regulators. Meanwhile, European Union legislators pursuing an EU-wide regulatory system for crypto asset markets, including, the proliferation of token investments as a sophisticated investment vehicle. So I feel, these would be some of the challenges which we would overcome by time. And of course, I think governments from all around the world should be open to these kind of technologies. It's really going to come up soon, like Gary mentioned, not only in health tech, fintech, in all industries, this is applicable. It's just that we need to be educated in the right manner. Like today, you explained me that it's not difficult to manage the wallet. All this while I was wondering how would I manage the wallet with the password thing and all.
I know. I mean, the whole aim, exactly. I mean, it looks little. So because you're not, you haven't probably downloaded a blockchain wallet, so you think it's
Yeah,
probably rocket science. It's not. So the whole purpose of this DeFi is to offer financial services to
yeah,
everyone with your smartphone. As long as you have a smartphone, you have internet connection. It's simple as that. No discrimination. Anybody who has a smartphone, an internet connection, data, low fees, user friendly, and open source, right? However, I would say the biggest challenge that I've known so far is security, right?
yeah.
Security, as Gary always, I mean, security has been a biggest challenge. So Gary, what besides regulatory challenge, besides mass adoption, besides that lack of knowledge that probably everybody doesn't have right now, so what are the security challenges you've seen so far, and how do you think it can be addressed?
Well, I mean, the security challenges in general. I mean, Vandana is living example of the some of the challenges about not knowing how to do a wallet and doing it incorrectly, and setting it
Yeah,
up. It's education. This is a lot
yeah,
about education. And what has to happen is the masses have to be educated on how easy this is and what the benefits are. And I haven't seen it. You always, the problem is when you look at cryptocurrencies, what you started to see is they were being used by drug cartels for, mentally, people think for nefarious purposes, right? They drilled it
Mhm.
into us, our head that it wasn't goodness. But what happened is that once people started to be educated and understand the value, in fact, those are the people that made a lot of money, right? Because they invested early in this when it was $300 for a Bitcoin, $1,000 for a Bitcoin. So it's a lot of it's education. Security challenges are, getting onto a exchange and it's a nefarious site and they take all the money. It happens to be set up by some scammers and it's mirroring another group. And you're looking at it going, oh, I'm going to put it in. And all of a sudden your money's gone and you just wired it to that account. Right.
Totally.
And that's what people are concerned about because I got to tell you, there's so many scams out there. You can't tell what site is what site. Right. It's
Yeah,
unbelievable. And so, and you can't tell who's sending you what. You may get something, people know Vendana. She talks about Convanto. They could start, eventually phishing stuff to you. And then all of a sudden, oh, I understand you're interested in investing. Let me tell you about my website. We can really help you. We'll make it easy. We'll keep it simple, stupid. Here's the deal. And,
yeah,
the problem is that kind of security, it's really important because there's a lot of, as AI starts to evolve, AI can go out and look at every part of who you are, right? It can go to ancestry, it can do anything. And so what happens is it can develop a picture and it can start to replicate you. And so that's where some of the challenges. So the system knows who you are. All it needs you to do is to wire your money in and forget about it. Nothing's so those are some of the challenges. By the way, Sonny, that's where I really like having a bank because
yeah,
when I walk in the bank, I'm not nearly as nervous because I know if somebody steals my money, the bank's going to be responsible. The problem is when I'm doing the transaction and I'm doing it directly with somebody, there's a chance I may screw up or send it to the wrong Swift number or routing number, and I make the mistake, and all of a sudden it goes into somebody else's account. So I think those are some. The other thing is, as I said, with some of these advanced systems, AI, quantum computers coming online, they're going to be able to crack things. And if you have it online and not in your pocket, it makes it a whole lot easier to be able to crack it. What people don't understand with hard cash and currency is there's also a lot of nefarious stuff because there's no tracking at all. At least if you're on the blockchain, you know what happened to it.
Mhm.
If
Yeah.
you take it out of your pocket and give it to somebody, you don't know, right? It's not tracked.
Totally right. Talking about banking, like Gary, I mean, I think I also see that one of the biggest reasons for slow adoption, I would say, or one of the hurdles and challenges in adopting DeFi is that traditional centralized finance, which is the banking system, is so already effective, right? but they so I mean, the challenges comes when we have sort of um, SMEs, when the banking is not accessible by everybody, when there is no financial inclusion. That's where I think the DeFi, the decentralized finance, because obviously, as I said before, all you need is a mobile phone and internet to have access to a wallet, a blockchain based wallet. But yeah, it's going to take time. Security obviously aspect is already there, as you rightly said. Anybody can just scam you, but yes, we have to be very careful.
No
I
matter
think.
what you do, by the way, this is just not for the exchanges. This
Yeah.
is I mean everything. When you go out to Amazon, anywhere, where you
Yeah.
can have mirrored sites and there can be BS. I mean, I had one time somebody take my Facebook and made a mirror image of my Facebook account and
Yeah.
started doing stuff. I had one time I had somebody get into my hack my email. I mean, there's all kinds of nefarious. The dark web has a lot of information about us. I've never been on it, but I hired a security consultant one time to check it out for me. There's a lot of stuff on us out there, and you got to just be careful. At the same time, you can't live in fear. Listen, the world's growing, or we're changing. There are a lot of challenges and issues, and we need to democratize opportunities. So places all over the world have to have an equal opportunity to participate. Because if not, we're not. We're one planet in 6 billion planets just in the Milky Way. In one, in the Milky Way galaxy, and there are estimated 200 trillion galaxies in the universe. So think about how many amazing amount, how much we can do. But we got to start somewhere. One is we've got to democratize opportunity, and we got to work together to make a dent in the universe to help, right? Whether it's environmental, et cetera. And we got to, and part of that sharing information securely.
Absolutely, I totally agree. I mean, you, I have seen Facebook posts from friends where they've just clearly stated that I have multiple Facebook accounts and these do not belong to me. So please do not accept any messages, any requests from these accounts. Again, emails get hacked as well, as you rightly said. So we have challenges in traditional centralized finance as well. So do DeFi poses some challenges, but it's very clear that traditional financial institutions and people like us, institutional investors, retail investors, have acknowledged the potential that decentralized finance platforms can bring, or DeFi for short, can bring to the financial institution or the financial services. And security remains obviously the most important component is security, in adopting this technology. So let's just take some quick thoughts before we wrap up. It was a good, I would say, discussion session today rather than me being an interviewer. And so let's just take some quick thoughts. It's just you, Gary, and Vandana. So Vandana, quick thoughts.
Yeah, so definitely adding on to the previous point, security everywhere is an issue in any kind of banking system, digital payments, or this kind of a technology. The thing is that we also, as entrepreneurs, we need to be risk takers. We need to accept that, okay, we are taking this call and failure can happen, and accept it and then learn from the lesson. So I think a positive attitude would help us move, very fast. I mean, having a positive mind, having mind which is in center makes us make clear decisions. And I think then we have less backfalls. Also, I could be reached out on my LinkedIn handle or on my website www.convanto.com, and it's a great topic. I think once I have to become the moderator and ask you questions because you have deep knowledge on this, and it's, really interesting to know different aspects of this. It's an interesting thing. Yeah.
Yes, we can have an episode where we ask each other questions rather than me just asking everybody question for sure. Thank you, Vandana. Gary, closing thoughts, please.
Yeah, so these are great times for each and every one of us. These are great times for investors. These are great times for startups. These are great times for individuals. If you understand, if you do your research, and don't be afraid. Scott McNeely is one of the founders of Sun Microsystem, told me directly one time over lunch. He said, "You know something? Go to the area that you fear the most because that's where you're going to make the most money and you're going to learn the most." And go to those areas, find out, do your research, participate in humanity. Our lives are changing, the digital transformations upon us. Blockchain and cryptocurrencies are here to stay, but do your research and don't be afraid. You can reach me, Gary Fowler, on LinkedIn, on Twitter. Check out my shows. I'm on VCTV, Founders Report, iHeartRadio in New York, all over. Check it out. The idea is that each and every one of us should participate. Each and every one of us should have an opportunity to be able to help ourselves and help our families.
Thank you so much, Gary Vandana. I just like to just add a quick closing thoughts because this is obviously a space I work in. So I think by working with experienced professionals from this space in DeFi or crypto or blockchain communities, I think financial institutions will steadily begin building the next generation of financial services around DeFi. So we all have to come together. It has to be sort of collaboration between centralized finance, traditional finance, and decentralized finance. I think this in turn, I what I see, because obviously countries like Africa, Latin America, emerging markets will that this decentralized finance is going to empower them, remove barriers for both emerging economies and small and medium scale sort of enterprises looking to do business on a local and global scale, because decentralized finance empowers them to go global because
Yeah.
of the nature of the technology. So boosting both economic welfare of millions worldwide. That's just wanted to I just wanted to share my closing thoughts. Thank you so much for your participation, and I always love to be back on VCTV with my family members, Gary Fowler, Vanjana Talani. And guys, take care, and I'll catch you again on another episode.
Yeah,
Bye
thank
bye.
you. Take care.
Bye.
Stay safe. Bye bye.